Hey, welcome into Chatterbox Bearcats, the midweek show. Special edition this week is we're releasing it on Monday because we got a major game on Tuesday. The Baylor Bears coming into town to take on the Cincinnati Bearcats in what I guess we can probably call an elimination game, like a postseason during the regular season for Bearcat fans at least. Baylor, they're in the tournament for sure, but Cincinnati, we need to win to stay alive for the NCAA tournament. Well, welcome in. I'm Nick Niehaus, the host. Eric Lilly is joining me as always. And I want to start with an apology. Actually, two apologies. One to the listeners for last week's show and the Wi-Fi. That was hard to listen to. So I am hardwired in. I'm in my unfinished family room that we're painting the whole thing. So kind of a janky setup, but hopefully no lags this time around. I know that was probably annoying last week, but my second apology, Lilly, and this is really all I have for that TCU game, is I apologize to Josh Reed. I already did it once. I called into a post-game show one time when I guess it was the Utah game, and I apologized to him. But you know, we speak our mind on this show a good amount, and we're not afraid of sharing our opinions. However, I want to be fully transparent here. I was not upfront publicly for how I felt about Josh Reed. I was not a fan, early on in the year. I didn't understand the minutes he was getting. I thought Rayvon, might have, I guess, excelled in some PT, or at least we'd have gotten him some run for future games and years and whatnot. But man, was I wrong. Man, was I absolutely wrong about Josh Reed. To see him come into his own this late in the year and, kind of blossom into what he's become. He was perfect from the floor at TCU. It's really awesome to see. And I've never been happier to be wrong about a specific player. Because I know we kind of hinted at it. I know we were like, why is Josh Reed getting some minutes? At least me and Hudson were saying that. But I just didn't understand. And I wasn't very open about it. But I know you were always a Josh Reed believer. And so what's the biggest takeaway, recently? We don't have to get into TCU too much because I know you were on the podcast yesterday, or at least on Saturday. So I don't want to talk too much about TCU, and then we'll get into Baylor and the mailbag and the poll of the week. But real quick, I mean, is that the number one thing for you, like it is for me, is just seeing Josh Reed really excel in this role he has?
Yeah, and I think I should probably apologize too. I think everybody should apologize except Josh Reed Burner. He's the only one that always believed.
Yeah, it's very true.
Through thick and thin, Josh Reed Burner was there. And I didn't hate Reed, but I graded him on a different scale, the fringe role player scale. So I just compartmentalize players like that a little. So when they do something, it's like, nice, cool, well done, Josh. And right now he's entering role player to fringe starter, just in the span of 2 weeks. Crazy. Awesome to see. I hope it continues. The offense looks good when he's out there. Defense is solid as usual. He's a reason to have hope and be excited right now, I think. And, during this little run here, we've won 4 of 6 and are 3-0 in the games we've been favored in. So first, by the way, just look this up. That is our first 3-game win streak in the Big 12 of games we've been favored in, counting last year too. Very weird stat, because we're using Vegas lines, but did you win the game or not? Still cool, and we got another one coming up on Tuesday. I think we'll be favored versus the Bears, which might surprise people. I'm sure I'll tweet the line out and I'll get a bunch of responses like, what? How? Baylor? But they did just lose to the Colorado Buffaloes, guys. So
I want to touch on that and why that worries me, actually. But it's kind of like when you were saying that we weren't, making mistakes, we were beating the teams we were favored against. This maybe you call this the Josh Reed episode, but that just reminds me of Josh Reed. You need a guy on the team that doesn't make mistakes. You need a guy that you're going to send out there and be like, I know what I'm going to get from him. He's not going to mess up. He's not going to make, low basketball IQ plays. He's going to go out there. He's going to play hard. He's not going to make any mistakes. And the Bearcats are not making any mistakes. And really, they haven't made very many mistakes this season if you're talking about games we should be winning, which that's never been the issue. It's Wes has never just like flat out lost games he shouldn't have outside of NKU, right? Or, I'm sure you can find a couple here and there. I guess Utah on the road, but that's never been the problem. They beat who they should beat, but they lose to, it's the Baylor teams coming into town. But BYU turns out to be a really good win. That's a quad 1 win now. And Baylor is going to be a quad 1 game. Actually, this is funny. If we lose to Baylor, that'll be a quad 1 loss. But if we beat Baylor, it's probably going to be a Q2 win because they're 30 out of 30 on the quadrant. So that's what a flawed system that is in theory, because you win and you hurt yourself in a sense. But obviously not. It's not, you're not hurting yourself.
Yeah.
But you get what I'm saying. So yeah, that's a big game we can talk about. Do you have any thoughts on like kind of, I know you just mentioned we're taking care of business, but as a whole, how they've been playing?
Yeah, I think it's safe to say now, like the last 6 games, I'm including the Iowa State and West Virginia game, that we've been playing better ball consistently. And, the West Virginia game, the end of it was a disaster. The Iowa State game, the end of it was a disaster. But there were a lot of moments in those games where it felt like, this is better than what it was. And I think it's safe to say we're on a little bit of a run here, and they're playing hard. I mean, we saw Dan versus TCU look the best he's looked in a long time. Jizzle's having the best span of his career. Day-Day's just starting games locked in on defense and playing pretty well. A lot of guys are playing well right now. Our bench is showing up. Just Reed, but just Reed and Betsy mostly. But things are going a little like if we were playing like this throughout the year consistently, we would not be in this predicament. So just a little reason for optimism right now, even though we're on the outside looking in.
And we'll talk about that in the bubble after we touch on Baylor, but I want to get to the Baylor game. The Bears coming in 16-11 on the year, 8-8 in the Big 12. As I mentioned, they're 30th in the net ranking, so literally the last spot of being a quad 1 game. So, it's probably going to be a quad 2 win if they win. That's stinks to say, but a quad 1 loss if we lose. So, VJ Edgecomb is who I am thinking about. He has really come into his own as a freshman. He wasn't, I didn't watch a ton of Baylor in the non-con, but it didn't seem like people were talking about him too much. I don't know if that was he wasn't performing well or he just wasn't living up to expectations, but he has really started balling out. He just had 24 points in a losing effort to Arizona. But he's somebody that scares you. We talk about all the time, the Bearcats need an alpha. We need Sean Abayev to come into town, a year early and be our guy this year. Jaron Cumberland, everybody keeps mentioning him, but it's like Baylor has that with VJ Edgecomb, but he's not even scoring the most points on their team because they also have Norchad Omier. So, regardless of how they've been playing recently, it's still just a talented team that worries you. Is VJ Edgecomb the number 1 guy you have on the scouting report, or is it Norchad?
They've got 2 alphas. Seriously, what you're just talking, they've got a wing and a big man, and they're both shooting the ball a ton. They're very important to their offense. In terms of who I'm nervous about more, I feel I think it's going to sound a little crazy. I think most people say Omier, but I'm going to Edgecomb just because he's been really good lately. And we're talking about, I've seen some people mention him at number 3 now with this jump. He's taken a huge leap. I'm going to tweet something tomorrow that shows how much he's changed recently, but I'll bring it up here first. It's a little easier to visualize on Twitter, but in late January, he was 0.67 points per possession on drives with 12% turnover. Since then, 1 point per possession, 6% turnover. So he's cut the turnovers in half and almost doubled the points per possession on drives only. And guys, he's like literally driving every play, getting to this mid-range spot, finishing at the rim. The last game they played recently, I watched, not the Colorado one. Arizona, down the stretch. Arizona won the game, but down the stretch, VJ, every possession, beats his guy, gets to his spot, and gets the shot up, getting to the line a ton. He shot 14 free throws versus Arizona. He is coming to his own. He does not look like a freshman anymore, and he frightens me because I like our guard defense right now. I think we'll be able to slow down Roach and O'Wright, but Edgecomb scaring me. He's 6'5", bouncy, dynamic. Got to make sure he really doesn't light it up from three. He's not really a three-point shooter right now, so you can't let him like stack like a crazy game where he hits threes and kills you at the rim, because I feel like he's kind of gonna get us.
I want to correct myself actually real quick, because I was saying how he didn't have a good start to the year. Maybe it was literally just because I watched Baylor Gonzaga in the very first game of the year where he had 4 points. And that was my take for the whole non-con, because I'm looking at his game log. And I mean, outside of that, he started off 11, 13, 17, 10, 20. He only had 2 points against New Orleans. And then 14, 16, 10, 19. So I don't know. Baylor fans, if they're listening to me, they're like, this guy absolutely does not know what he's talking about. But no, I guess he's been solid all year, but it just seems recently, like the games he's had recently, I mean, he just had 30 in a game. He had 28. He had 24 against Arizona, 14 against Houston, which, isn't amazing, but this guy just gets buckets. And he's somebody that really scares you. And it's funny because he's probably not even the best player on his team. But he's going to go top 5 in the NBA draft. And Norchad Omier, just because he's 30 years old, is probably the alpha on the team. We haven't even, we touched on him, but like, man, this is a good Baylor team, and I don't care what they've been doing. Like, this is one that you win. And you know what? I'm going to stop my take here real quick and kind of step back. It sucks they lost to Colorado for a couple reasons. One, because I hate the spot that we're going to be in, where this team just lost to a team who was winless in Big 12 play for a couple months. Now they're going to be, mad as hell. And there's that. And that's a real thing. And then also it's like, it kind of kills the hype a little bit if the Bearcats do pull one out. Just a tad. I mean, nothing crazy. It's still a great win. It probably will end up being quad one if I had to guess, unless Baylor absolutely, implodes down the stretch. But that sucks that they lost to Colorado. So, yeah.
They might implode, man. I don't know.
Because we got to mention they lost their big man, other than Omier.
Mm-hmm.
So they're down their big man. So Omier's their biggest guy. And I know you've mentioned it on a couple podcasts that this is a small team, right? So maybe that's an advantage that the Cats have in this one, is that, isn't their biggest center 6'8"? Isn't Omier only 6'8"?
6'7". And their backup
6'7"
is 6'7", 215. So we're dealing with 2 6'7" guys, and the backup is a twig. He doesn't rebound. He doesn't block shots. He's just there. They have to play somebody,
Yeah, so I mean, there's definitely that. I mean, like you said, I mean that is a cause for a team to implode for sure. But the talent is definitely there between Roach, Edgecomb, and Omier. So this is a good team coming into town. And I had a poll of the week, and I'm just kidding. It was kind of a cop-out poll because I was like, I don't even know what to like. There's so much going on with the Cats that it was kind of hard to nitpick one specific thing. And honestly, when we lost to West Virginia, I told you, I was like, I'm just going to put a poll out there. Like, would you want Bob Huggins back or something? And then of course we beat TCU and everybody's back on the train. So all of these polls of the week have just been to gauge, the pulse of the fan base. And so this one was thoughts heading into the Baylor game. And the answers were Cats win, Cats lose. 65% say that the Cats get the win. So people are back on the we're a fickle fan base, no pun intended. But you win one, we're all bought in. You lose one, everybody wants to burn it down. So what do you think? Do you think we get the dub on Tuesday?
I'm sick of this roller coaster, but yeah, I think we do it again. I think we have that, like, this reminds me of the BYU game a little at home.
It's like the same game.
Yeah, I think the spread will be similar. I think we'll be favored by a couple points. And, winning 2 of those in a row would do wonders. We still have a way to go, as a team and for our resume. But winning this one would seriously do a lot for the morale around the fan base and believing in Wes. Not that we need to, I don't think he cares about that. He'll be locked in this summer, thinking he can turn it around regardless. But I'm saying we're going to get the win. I'm back in on this team. God damn.
Isn't it crazy? Isn't it crazy what they do to us?
I can already picture myself walking out of Fifth Third with my head down, just letting these guys do it to me again. But you know what? This is college basketball. Let's have some fun. Let's believe. I'm going to do it. Between the depth, the lack of height, the amount of minutes these guys have been playing. I didn't bring this up during the Baylor segment totally, but their top 6 guys every single game since Big 12 player over 28 minutes, and their top 4 are over 32 usually. So that's a ton of minutes to be playing without any buys. You keep hearing the Big 12 coaches complain about these no buys during this conference play, the 20 games. I think Baylor is going to be have the biggest claim to, like, this really screwed us just due to the injuries and kind of a makeshift team right now. And like you said, they're desperate. And one thing you did say earlier that I actually disagree with, Nick, is you said Baylor's safely in. I actually think this is like a team, if they do spiral, they might be in trouble. Now, this is a hot take. Don't think this is, like, actually going to happen.
Yeah.
If they beat us, they're in. Like, that's how close they are to locking themselves in. But if they lose, they just lost to Colorado. If they lose out, they're not in. They're on the 9 seed on a lot of brackets right now.
You know what? I'm going to go to Bracket Matrix real quick and check that out.
You'll be surprised where Baylor is. They've been
they are
struggling for a while. Not many win streaks, but they have Scott Drew. They've got a top 5 pick and Omir. I think they'll find a way. I think they're going to get an easy, but
you're right though. They're not
there.
as locked.
Yeah.
I mean, they're only in, and look, like 87 out of 90 is a lot of brackets to be in, but there's 3 brackets that don't have them in, is another way to look at it. So yeah, you're right. Maybe I just haven't seen them on the bubble.
But like, this is a big game for them. Like, to your point of you don't like this spot.
No.
But also I like this spot because this is the first time they've come to the Eastern time zone in the conference. They played at Colorado on Saturday. So they're flying from Colorado to Waco today or last night. And then they're flying to Cincinnati a day later. They're not really going to be practicing much. Lots of recovery, stuff like that. This is a great spot for, like, worst part of their Big 12 schedule is this travel here, because they did a Utah trip where they stayed there. But this is a big one.
I guess I just have Eastern time zone bias where I felt like a lot more teams are on the Eastern, but it's just
they don't play West Virginia or UCF.
UCF. Are we the only 3? I guess we're the only 3 schools in the Eastern time zone, which is crazy to think. But there's such a bias on Eastern time zone. You know what gives me hope? I'm going to say yes, just because I want to believe. UC lost to Baylor 68-48, right? 48 points on the road at Baylor. Now, this is a completely different team than what we saw on January 7th, because Dan Skillings led the way with 18 points. If you remember, this is the game he just went nuclear from three. He made 5 out of 7 threes. So he led the way with 18. Bandego had 11. And then nobody else scored. I mean, Lukosius 5, Day 6, Jizzle 5, Josh Reed 2 points. Josh Reed, here's what made me think of this. Josh Reed played 2 minutes. 2 minutes. And I'm not saying, oh, if Josh Reed plays 40 minutes, we win that game. But I'm just saying, like, everything has changed. Like, Dan Skillings got 30 minutes in this game. And I'm not saying Dan Skillings playing fewer minutes is a good thing by any means, because obviously it's not. The fact that he's not playing well is because he's not because he's playing few minutes, but he's playing less minutes because he's not playing well. So it's not a good thing. But I'm just saying, stylistically, this team is different from when we played Baylor last. Everything's being ran through Jizzle and Day, and that was definitely not the case. We were running everything through CMOS and Dan. At least as far as I could tell, right? Those were the two guys. We said it the whole year, like, which one's our best player? Jizzle wasn't even in that discussion until recently. Now Jizzle is taking a hold of the offense and it's working. And Day too. Like, it's our two guards. Like, they're taking a bunch of shots. I mean, the bulk of the field goal attempts are those two. And it's not very efficient, but it's working. So, like, you don't want to change that up at this point in the season. And I'm pretty sure there's a mailbag question about that later on, so I don't want to get too deep into that. But I don't know. Do you think – I mean, I think it's a different team. 48 points.
It is, and so is Baylor. Their big man, the 6'10" guy, Josh, not going to try his last name. He's out. Their backup big man that's going to play on Tuesday, Jalen Celestine, he was out of the first game. Langston Love was out of the first game. He's back. This is a new game. That game doesn't matter. And to anybody who disagrees with that, look at the BYU games. Even if the teams are the same, this is basketball. Just because you get your ass kicked the first time doesn't mean they're. If anything, I think that think about the pregame, the preparation. These guys are embarrassed they got smoked at Baylor. Like that was probably the most embarrassing away game this season, right? Other than BYU, it's those two. Like, those are the two despicable performances. And we responded to the BYU one, and now here's our chance to do the same thing against Baylor just 2 weeks later.
I mean, we had a brutal start to 2025. That week of January 6th was awful. 48 points against Baylor and then 40 points against Kansas. Gosh, just hideous stuff.
Can't believe that happened. Still, I just cannot believe it.
Oh, my gosh. And now we're scoring, 93, 84, 85. Yeah, we just had 59 against West Virginia, but 75 against TCU, who is a good defensive team. So that gives me hope, man. It's a different team. So I'm gonna believe that. I'm gonna believe in that until it tips on Tuesday, and I'm nervous. But here's the thing: it's like, are we doing? And let's move on to bubble talk.
I gotta say something real quick.
Yeah,
because I've seen some people talk about the 59 versus West Virginia. We scored 59 versus West Virginia with the same amount of possessions that we had in the Kansas game, where we scored 40. So our offensive rating in KenPom went up after the West Virginia game. We points per possession were fine. It was the slowest conference game of the season. So still, obviously, a ton of problems at the game.
But that matters. That's why I'm pretty sure. I think I said it on the last midweek show where it's like people look at points per possession, not points per game nowadays, for that matter, because some teams are just slower in nature. Some teams are faster. Yeah, no, that's a good nugget. I'm glad you shared that. But what I was saying was, you know, even if we beat Baylor, as good as that's going to feel, it's like, are we doing all this for nothing? Because you still got to beat Houston, right? You still got to beat them, at least as far as I can tell. And that's what the whole narrative is on Twitter with, all the bracketologists and whatnot, is that we got to win out. And that takes care of Oklahoma State, who's not any good. Obviously Houston, who I just mentioned, Baylor, and then our last game, Kansas State at home,
who's
in
now
Oklahoma.
Q3.
Yeah. So, but who cares? Like, let's worry about that in the future. Like, who cares? Let's just win this one and then have a little more hope for another week or so. But let's talk about that bubble. I guess the outlook is win out, right? This feels like the Bengals season.
Yeah, it does feel like the Bengals season, though, for real, like in terms of hype and stuff like that. Just different teams, Bengals have stars, we don't. It's just funny how much different like the rosters are, but the perception was similar. We don't have to win out to get in, but if we don't win out and get in, it's because a lot of shit happened in our favor, whether it's no bids being stolen, other bubble teams just really performing poorly, or us winning a couple games in the tournament, which is possible, getting to the tournament at 9-11, if we get to the tournament 9-11, we'll be sitting here recording, talking about how we probably need to win 2 games. So it's possible. The draw was really going to matter, because if that second game's versus Houston, like, I'm sorry, I'm not getting I'm not.
Yeah.
We're going to be sweating on Sunday no matter what, I think. So unless we don't finish strong, then obviously we're not sweating. But there is the bubble this year. I talked to my guy Sluter Bracketology. Follow him on Twitter. I'll be posting his graphics here starting next week of his brackets. He just started. He doesn't do it year round like some of those crazy bracketology nerds. He's got, he works a lot. He's got other hobbies. So he saves it for late February. And he's kind of getting me hyped up here. Mind you, if for anyone that doesn't know who he is, he's number 12 in Bracket Matrix, the 12th best bracketologist over the last 5 years.
And what's
he's
Lenardi?
A Bearcats fan.
What's Lenardi, like 100?
117th, I think.
Yeah. So
yeah.
Let's stop with I am a victim.
Cut it out with that, right?
I'm a victim of quote tweeting Lenardi's brackets too, just like
me
everybody
too.
else.
Me too.
But,
I'm a hypocrite.
But like, he's not any good. Like, let's get these other guys. Let's get your guy in the pod.
He's not even great on TV. Yeah, I'll talk to Sluter. If we win Tuesday, I'm getting him on.
Get him on the pod. Get him on, because that'd be awesome to have a bracketologist kind of break down stuff for us, because 12th in the country. This guy's probably he knows what he's doing.
Yeah, and like top 15 bracketologists have bad years too. It doesn't mean he's like gonna be right this year per se, but it means he has a good process and understands how the committee works, because it's over the last 5 years. So it's not just one fluke bracket, right? But he mentioned to me that the unique thing this year is that all of the bubble teams don't have bad losses, which includes us. We don't have a bad loss on the team sheet. And quite a few of those bubble teams are in the ACC and Big East. They have opportunity for bad losses. We don't. Our opportunity for a bad loss would be in the Big 12 tournament and a Q3 game in the first round versus Oklahoma State, something like that. If you look at like Xavier, for example, they still have like 2-3 Q3 games left, I think. And teams like that might play 2 of those in the tournament too. So they're basically just don't lose. Your resume's not getting better, but if you lose, it screws you. So
yeah,
it's gonna be fun to watch. Like, look, I have a list here of teams with 2 or fewer Q1 wins: Cincinnati, Xavier, Villanova, Pittsburgh, North Carolina, Georgia, SMU. These are all teams on the bubble with 2 or fewer Q1 wins. We have a very similar resume to a lot of teams. And there's still things that I just did a little quick research here. Like our wins at NKU and the home win versus Nicholls State, they're both very close to Q3. Like just getting both of those to flip, or one of them, UCF, borderline Q1, BYU, borderline Q1, Baylor, borderline Q1. If a lot of stuff goes your way here, and I'm not saying, wake up tomorrow and be like, dude, we're getting in the tournament. What I am saying is like there are scenarios here where our resume just gets way better than we thought it was. Like say all those Q1 games go the right way and we beat Baylor, and then we get a good draw in the Big 12 tournament with a Q1 neutral game in the first round, and then you win that, all of a sudden Cincinnati has 4 Q1 wins, and feels like we're stuck at 0 or 1 for how long? So there's reasons to be excited. There's also reasons to not believe in this team at all.
That's the pain of it all, is like the opportunities are there and they just haven't seized it to this point. Except for, there's been a few good wins, a few. But I don't disagree with much you say on here or what Hudson says or what Charlie says much, but I do have one thing that Charlie's been saying that I have been disagreeing with. And he's like, all we want to be doing is sweating on Selection Sunday. That's all we want. That's all we want is just to sweat a little. And I'm like, no, no, not at all. Like, I want to get in this tournament. Like, I know what he means by like, after we found out what this team is, that's all we want is to sweat, because we weren't a tournament team, when we were in January. But like, gosh, this season has just been so disappointing. So disappointing in the fact that we're even on the bubble and having to, like, it makes me want to puke that I said, hey, we have to win out to make the tournament. So like, I know Charlie's saying that after finding out what this team is, but like, I want more than this. Like, this is killing me. Like, I'm still not happy. As happy as I would be with a Baylor win, it's like, it's hard to shake the feeling of this could be the 6th year in a row that we missed the tournament. But let's move on from my pity party. Who's on the bubble? Who do we have to worry about? I know you have the resumes. You just rattled off some teams with the same amount of Q1. Was it Q1 or Q1 Q2?
That was just Q1.
Just Q1.
Like all of those teams have 2 or fewer.
So let's discuss this. North Carolina being ahead of us on brackets and Xavier being ahead of us on brackets. Now, Xavier, I guess I can understand a little bit because that Marquette win was good, but Marquette they're not doing well. So, all of this stuff about those two teams getting in the bracket, that makes me sick.
That win is carrying their resume, by the way.
Oh, my God.
A wet Q1 away. That's a monster right there.
That's a Q1A. That's what, I'm like, what is the point of having the quadrants if we have like sub quadrants within them? It's like, well, that Q1's that's not as good of a Q1 as the other one. I'm like, well, what's the point?
I like it, but I think it should be more exclusive. Like right now, if you beat Texas away, it's Q1 plus. And to me, that's like just bullcrap, because Texas has a losing record. They're like 3-6 Q1. It's like, why are they a Q1 plus then? But I think it's just a glitch in the system because the SEC just demolished everybody.
Yeah.
So they're kind of an outlier, but I do like how they have like a minuscule, like just to differentiate. I don't like it right now because it tells you the difference between beating Houston and beating UCF on the road.
Yeah.
So I think that's fair, but I think it should be more exclusive. It shouldn't be 1 through 35. I think it should be like 1 through 25
for Q1 plus.
Yeah, like just a dynamic win that, like,
so
in front of ESPN,
dude, there's Q1A and there's Q1 plus. What are we doing? What are we doing?
There's Q2 plus, Q3 plus, Q4 plus. You just don't hear about it. It's on the team sheet. Yeah.
What in the world? Whatever. it is what it is. So anyway, are there any teams that you think are on the bubble that either shouldn't be, or teams that you think are in the? I mean, look, you're not a bracketologist, but I know you know this stuff. Anything that sticks out to you about the bubble?
There's just so many right now. I'm gonna wait till we win on Tuesday. There we
Okay.
go, win.
Yeah.
To like really start diving into like following bubble teams. But there's a couple like just the ACC and Big East teams specifically are. I just want people to be watching that because they don't have as many opportunities as we do, and if we take advantage of it, we are going to jump those teams if we haven't already. There's quite a few, but then I do have a little random hot take I'll throw in that I think I'm in the minority in right now. I think Oklahoma right now should be in the tournament at 4-10 in the SEC. Like if you put us next to Oklahoma, I'd pick Oklahoma if I was like unbiased, which I'm not. But they beat Arizona, Louisville, and Michigan out of conference on neutral courts. That's one of the best teams in the Big 12. That's one of the best teams in the ACC and one of the best teams in the Big 10. They were 13-0 out of conference, and the SEC is just ridiculous. So I think if they get to 6-12, they should be in the tournament, which is just an insane thing to say.
That is crazy, but that conference.
But yeah, expand the tournament more. Let's get more of these teams in.
Is that your take? That
was bad.
Okay.
I am against expansion, even if it helps us, which it would. We'd get in more. But yeah, I don't have I'll start making a list here on Wednesday if we win on Tuesday. Just anybody around us, root against them, and then also root for UCF, BYU, etc.
Yeah. You mentioned Oklahoma, so I want to bring this up. I don't know if you saw this, and I'm on Twitter right now to make sure I didn't get got. But did you see Jeremiah Fears' dad on Twitter? You didn't see what I'm talking about?
I saw people referencing it, but I never saw what it was about, actually.
He just like quote tweeted one of the box scores of Jeremiah. Now I can't find it, so I feel like maybe it was parody. But okay, no, it was him. I just found it. He was essentially tweeting. He was like, "Where is my son going to play ball next year?" And it's like just openly talking about how he's not going to come back to Oklahoma. Like they have, like there was some rumors that they were going to fire Porter Moser before their next game.
Root against Oklahoma because it doesn't seem like things are great there. And if they don't get to 6-12, they don't have a shot.
Yeah, he said. Now he came out. He's like, by the way, this has nothing to do with Oklahoma basketball. He loves the program and the coach, and it's like,
we believe you.
Okay. He literally was like, nah, he doesn't want to play for Oklahoma. He's gone. And then, yeah. So I thought that was funny. I know that's not related to us whatsoever, but I was like, what in the world? That's insane. His dad's just out here just like, where should he go next year? Anyway, let's move on to the mailbag. Yeah, so you have a Chatterbox Bearcats Nick Niehaus guarantee that if we win against Baylor, we'll come back on the pod and do we'll do like a bubble show. We'll try to get a bracketologist on. Get your buddy on. You say he's a Bearcat fan too, so maybe that's even good to have as well. But yeah, I will try to get a bracketologist on and break this whole thing down because it becomes very real. Because even if we do lose one more, look, you got to win out to be in, I feel like. But if you lose one more and it's Houston, and it's not dead. I don't think it's dead. So we'll have somebody break that down for us. Anything before we get to the mailbag?
No, I think that's it. Oh, actually, a couple other, like the San Diego States, these smaller leagues, like George Mason lost to VCU on Saturday. That was really good for us because there's a chance the A10's a one bid league if VCU wins the A10 now. Dayton certainly isn't there anymore, but like stuff like that's what you want to be watching for right now. San Diego State, maybe root against our guy Jared Calhoun at Utah State, Santa Clara, the teams like that, and then of course the ACC and Big East bubble teams and and a couple of the SEC ones as well.
Okay, perfect. Bearcat Nut on the mailbag said, barring a miracle run to the NCAA tournament, is there a scenario ending the season that will allow you to be satisfied with how the team finished? The answer is no. Absolutely not. I'm not satisfied with anything this year. It would be the 6th year of not making the NCAA tournament. Now, I know he's saying, is there any hypothetical situation that could happen from now until the end of the season? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe Rayvon Griffith and Tyler Betsy play 40 minutes a game and drop 20 points a game randomly out of nowhere and give us hope for the future. Yeah, that would make me satisfied. No, the answer is no, because this was a massive disappointment on the year. And despite what the recent winning has done, it just kept us afloat and has strung us along for hope of even making the tournament, let alone making noise in the tournament. So the only way would be the young guys playing really well. But no, I'm not satisfied.
Yeah. It's just, it would be hard to be sad. Honestly, if we finish well and don't get in and then even retain the guys we want to retain, it'll just feel like last year to me. So won't be satisfied, but I do want us to finish well. I want fans to get, excited about a couple players and see if they come back and not have this just absolutely miserable season, which it's pretty close to that. If we don't get in, it's about as bad as it gets. But, in the season on a good note, I guess that's something, but it's definitely not satisfied.
Definitely not. The Quadri Moorburner said, throughout the season, even on the games we have won convincingly, do you truly believe West changes the offensive game plan, or was it just players making their own plays? And he put Jizzle in parentheses. How else can this team look decent against TCU than pathetic against West Virginia? You answer this first. I'm curious, because I just you go first. I'm curious your thoughts on this.
I don't know. College basketball, like maybe their girlfriends didn't respond to them the night before. It's just something happened after the West Virginia home game, and I mean I already said this, but I don't think like the West Virginia away game was like anywhere near the disaster that the home game was. We had a little lead and we blew it down the stretch. We know we don't have leaders on the court. We know we don't have a go-to guy. CMOS was out, and guys were just rotating, chucking up bullcrap shots, and West Virginia has a leader. And it showed. We just crapped that game away. It was sad to see, but like I don't think that was how we're playing right now. I don't think that was anywhere near that run in January, like the bottom of the season, which is why I was just kind of surprised at the reaction after that game. But I am alone on that one, apparently, because I logged on Twitter and it was like the world was ending, and I was like, "What?"
I think it's just because that felt well. Yeah, it's just because that felt like it was a must-win.
Yeah, it was
to get in, which it kind. I mean, it really, in theory, is not. It just makes Houston a must-win.
Mm-hmm. If we had won that game, I'd be saying some crazy shit right now. So
yeah,
I get it. I just like it felt like the reaction was even worse than the home game, and I was like, man, that home game was like one of the worst games of my life. Like it was that bad.
Yeah. Well, I was a victim of that as well, or at least a proponent of it, because my game day GIF that I usually do, I was like, what do I use here for the TCU game? I was gonna like have like one eye open, one eye closed of like and then I ended up tweeting waving a white flag, and then we win. And then I'm like, wait, no, we actually have a chance to make the tournament still. So I take that back. I don't think we're waving a white flag. But that's how you felt after West Virginia was the season's over. then you look really good against TCU. Season's back on, season's over, season's back on. It's like Hudson yesterday or on Saturday when he's like, I feel like these post-game shows, like you have one take, one game, and then this completely other game happens where it's just complete the opposite. Like I've had so many different takes out there. He hit the nail on the head on that. So my answer to this, whether it's the offensive game plan scheme changing or players just making plays, you're not gonna like this answer, but like it's definitely a little bit of both. I would lean towards the players because they do have to make the plays, and I just simply didn't think they were. With that being said, I don't know if it's an offensive scheme change, more so coaching change, letting Jizzle have more freedom, or like just running things through Jizzle. So I guess yes, I guess technically it would be a scheme change, but like giving him the confidence and just the green light. I feel like maybe that he always had the green light and he just wasn't taking advantage of it or didn't have the confidence to put up the volume of shots. But if you look at the amount of shots that him and Day have shot, it's definitely a change. So I would lean towards now Jizzle has the confidence to just make these plays because he has been the catalyst for this spark at the end of the year. But obviously, Wes isn't, I don't know the word I should say, I guess, handcuffing him. You know what I mean? So I guess it's a little bit of both.
And I didn't like directly answer, so I need to submit my official. I went on a crazy tangent there. My official answer is the players.
Yeah.
I think the UCF game gave them confidence in their offensive skills and talent. And I think since then they've kind of been like in fuck it mode. Like, let's do that. Like, what do we have to lose at this point?
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of just spread to the whole team. And, I think the coaches are probably preaching it too. But yeah, I think it's the players' mindset and confidence.
So we have one more basketball question, then a couple football or overall questions. I don't know how to answer this one, but I feel like, we didn't have that many replies to this week's mailbag. So it's like, I don't want to exclude, a legitimate question here from Terry Nelson, the Terry Nelson burner. He said, besides Wes, who do you think leaves after the season from the staff and who should be let go? And then he said, hashtag bring back Mike Roberts. I don't know, dude. I am not the guy to ask about evaluating assistant coaches, to be completely honest. I don't even know how you would. Like, again, like we kind of mentioned it, like you talk about the recruits they brought in, I guess. And that's one way. So if you want to look at it in that way, sure. But like I'm not in on these practices. So I have no idea.
Yeah, like I'm much more confident speaking on players and like just reading body language and stuff. Coaches, I just, it's hard to say, and I don't really want to predict that.
No, I don't either. I don't like calling for.
I do think there'll be change though. Like I feel like you kind of have to. I don't know who. Also, I'm not going to be like that should be him. Sure, people will break down recruiting and stuff, and again, we just don't see so much of what's going on with coaches. So my guess is one, maybe one guy gets replaced or maybe two. I don't know.
I also don't like calling for people's jobs. Like this is this person's livelihood. Now, a head coach of a major program is one thing. Obviously, these guys get paid millions of dollars. It still pains me. If you've noticed, I've never outwardly said fire Wes on this program. You know what I mean? Maybe I have. I think we've gotten to that level. But I don't like saying it. I don't say that stuff loosely. So yeah, I don't know. Let's just move on from that. Now, the Tawi Walker boom. I guess it's like a burner. So, what position group are you most excited to watch for the 2025 football season? You go ahead, Lilly.
Oh, wow. That caught me off guard. I should probably look at these beforehand. So, which position group is most exciting?
Yes. If you want, I will answer first.
Go ahead.
Give you time. I have two. It's a 2-for-1. It's the wide receivers to start. And the reason, No, it's not the wide receivers, but the wide receivers make me excited to watch Brendan Sorsby, because I know we kind of briefly talked about it towards the end of this year or end of the season, is that I don't think it was Brendan Sorsby who was not performing. I think he just didn't have the skill players around him necessarily. Now, Corey Kiner and Joe Royer are studs, but a tight end and a running back isn't like, if you have a good tight end and a running back, that doesn't excuse you from having a below average wide receiving core. So they addressed that in the portal, and I'm excited to see the quarterback position. I'm excited to see Sorsby. I think he's our best player. He had a whole year of starting under his belt. I think he has the talent to be an all-conference player. And, we addressed a position of need that directly affects him. So my answer is Sorsby.
Yeah, the old QB room. Brady Lichtenberg is getting Niehaus excited.
Well,
all right. Yeah.
I know it's position group.
It's no, that's a good. You didn't cheat. That's a proper answer. I thought about it, but you took it, so I'm not. I'm going tight end, and we get a lot of talk about Joe Royer, and he deserves all of it. The coaches are literally like on Twitter campaigning him as TE1 next year for the NFL draft. They are quote tweeting PFF stuff saying you're wrong, all this other. Their confidence in Joe Royer says a lot to me. And obviously we saw it. Like, we know what he can be. And to your point, it goes hand in hand with Sorsby, another offseason with Sorsby. It just could be a huge, like people are going to know who Joe Royer is if you follow college football next year, I think. And also, Gavin Grover's a sophomore now. They love him. The staff loves him. You could just tell by how they talk about him. He did not redshirt last year. He played enough to be a true sophomore. And I think he's going to play some. Keep Royer fresh. He might be our number 2 pass catcher as a tight end. And Patrick Gird's in the house now, national champion. Unfortunately, he's probably an upgrade over Francis Sherman. That's the guy you didn't know who was, and a lot of people don't. The inline tight end, the last guy fans can recognize. He's just blocking, beating guys up. Patrick Gird was playing in the national championship game. He was playing, and he is going to play for us too, and tons of experience. Joe Royer approves the transfer. We've got a lot of Ohio State guys on this roster. They wanted him here. I think we should be excited about the tight end room.
Love it. And the last question is from Bearcat Nuts, a fun one. You only get one. Which do you choose? UC Football National Championship, UC Basketball National Championship, Reds World Series, Bengals Super Bowl, and FC Cincinnati MLS Cup. Can you imagine if me or you was like, you know what, give me FCC? Actually, I don't want to make this a hate on soccer thing. I don't know if you're a soccer guy, but let me just move on before I get myself in trouble. Oh yeah, you are a soccer guy. Arsenal, right? Oh, you're wearing FCC. Oh, my bad.
Yeah. I had it on today because we won yesterday.
I just have never watched soccer, so just that will.
Beautiful sport. Beautiful.
Okay. What do you think? What do you take?
UC basketball. That's the easiest question anybody's ever asked me in my entire life. I follow tons of sports. I'm a Utah Jazz fan, Arsenal, every Cincinnati team. And it's UC basketball by 10,000 miles. And yeah, that's it.
Well, and yes, that's my answer. It's not even a question. There's no close second. Actually, close second, probably not. But, it's also the way the postseason is. Like, there is nothing like March Madness. Nothing. So, and also it's a crapshoot as you've mentioned. So, like, the chances of winning it are there. We haven't had the team, frankly. I mean, well, we have. We've had the team one year. We just never mind. Never mind. I don't want to bring that up. That I won't be able to sleep tonight. Anyway, I've always said it goes Bearcat basketball is my 1, Bengals is my 2. And I hope I'm not like ruining my credibility here with Bearcat football. I love all these teams, but like, I would take a Super Bowl number 2 probably. And then 3 is football, is UC football or Reds World Series, and that's a toss up. Obviously, like I'm a huge Reds fan, huge Bengals fan. I'm Cincy till I die. I don't know. I mean,
I'd go UC football 2, Reds 3. I grew up with pretty big baseball.
Not as big.
I kind of fell out of it. Don't watch it as much anymore, but it would just mean a lot, But Bengals are right there too. I mean, either way, yeah. I'm running around downtown having the best night of my life.
Yeah,
we second best night in case my wife listens to this.
we need a better just outlook on these teams, man. I mean, it's been brutal. We are truly a suffering fan base of all of these. Truly. There's none like it. But hey, that's a fun one. No Hoover Dam on this show. So if you want to see live correspondence from the Hoover Dam, tune into Saturday's show of the TCU recap. Chuck Walter is vacationing all weekend at the Hoover Dam. His whole weekend. That's all it is. Just staring at that thing. No, I'm kidding. He's in Vegas, but yeah, that was a fun one from you, Chuck, and Houdini. So I hope Chuck listens to this and he's like, all right, Niehaus is getting me back with the all we want is to sweat a little on Selection Sunday. Because he gave me crap about.
We're just checking to see if he listens.
He was giving me crap about how I said we have a ton of shooters on this team in early November. So no, that was good stuff. Anything we missed? I feel like we touched on everything pretty well. I thought this was gonna be a shorter show, and here we are sitting at 57 minutes.
3 minutes shorter. That worked. Yeah, I don't have much to add. Just like and subscribe. It really does help. So we would appreciate that, especially if you made it this far. You're a real one, so we appreciate that as well.
Yeah, we've grown a little bit, or quite a bit actually, over the season. So thank you for everybody who's been tuning in. Truly, like we started this. I know Chuck and Hudson, did the post game shows last year, but adding a midweek show and also tons of stuff on Twitter and whatnot. Thank you for everybody who's joining the ride. Just know that you guys are day ones, truly. So, we're hoping for bigger and better things in terms of, growing the audience. So liking and subscribing. And honestly, the biggest thing is telling your friends. If there's anybody out there who is a Bearcat fan and, likes listening to stuff, obviously, I don't think we take things too seriously as we're all just fans of the show. So, or fans of the teams. So yeah, make sure you like, subscribe, please refer us to some friends. But yeah, no, thank you all for listening. It's been a hell of a year, even though the play on the court has not been up to par, as I would say. But yeah, hey, that's it for the show. Chuck and Houdini will have the Baylor post-game show. And if we get a dub and we're looking at the bracket and we're like, man, we might be in this thing, me and Lilly will come back on for another show this week and have a bracketologist on. Hopefully, I'm just going to DM a bunch of random ones if your buddy can't come on. And it might just be a shot in the dark. But we'll have somebody on, or at least maybe even Chuck and Houdini to pop on and give us some breakdown of the bubble. But that's it for today's show. See you guys. Thanks for listening.